last thing I want to talk about before we look at memes is so did you see, I don't know how many people saw that the Uttarakhand government is going to try and implement uniform civil code on a trial basis.
अब जाएगा
हाँ, तो शुरू हो गया है, मामला शुरू हो गया है by the looks of it, and एक दो साल में लगता है कुछ सीन बनाया जा रहा है इंडिया में यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड।
उत्तराखंड भी नहीं, अभी अभी बस रुकते जाओ,
उत्तराखंड तो झांकी है, you know that
बस
phrase.
बाकी अभी बहुत कुछ बाकी
अभी
है,
बहुत
अभी
कुछ
अभी
बाकी
देखते जाओ क्या होने वाला है।
हाँ।
गवर्नमेंट गोटी खेल रही है, ऐसे 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 गोटी खेल रही है।
So I do want to ask about that as well. You know, there is another argument about uniform civil code कि अगर uniform civil code इंडिया में लागू होता है, सबसे ज्यादा अनफॉर्चुनेटली यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड से हिंदू भुगतेंगे, सबसे ज्यादा नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट हिंदूज के ऊपर पड़ेगा. This is another argument because uniform civil code will kill the Sampradayik diversity.
This is the trad argument. There is no other argument.
That's the argument that I'm making.
I agree and I disagree. I'll tell you why. Hinduism is not a homogenized religion.
Yes.
Okay. The problem is when you bring in a uniform civil code, what are the things you're homogenizing? Okay. It also makes you vulnerable. Because remember, at a later stage, if there is a Congress or a third front government that wants to go after Hindus, remember the only reason Mughals, the Turks before them and all of that couldn't really affect you too much is because if they passed a legislation on one thing, there was enough diversity in Hindus that 90% of the Hindus never conformed to that anyway.
Yes.
Okay. I worry sometimes. As much as I like the uniform civil code, I worry that when you have a homogenization take place, without the future being secure, it can be abused and misused against you.
So
I don't agree.
In the uniform civil,
people often confuse what the uniform civil code portends to do. The uniform civil code pretends to deal with certain very specific areas. In a classic sleight of hand, a certain section of the trads has made the uniform civil code to be an attack on Hindu
every
rituals,
single
which has nothing
aspect
to do
of
with
Hindu
the
culture, right?
Yeah.
ये
It's
वो
a sleight
कह रहे
of
हैं
hand.
कि हाँ, yeah.
यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड तुमको मंडप में कैसे डिजाइन करना, कैसे तुमको ये मंत्र बोलना, कितने तुमको फेरे लेना, तुमको ऐसे हाथ ऐसे करके शादी करना या हाथ ऐसे करके शादी करने को कुछ नहीं बोलने वाला है. यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इज गोइंग टू डील विद इनहेरिटेंस.
Uniform civil code say, Kushal, in your opinion, will uniform civil code then legislate कि अयप्पा के शबरीमला के मंदिर में क्या practices होनी चाहिए?
How can it do it? The point is very simple. A uniform civil code is going to do what? Property rights, inheritance rights,
Yes.
divorce,
शादी.
ये सब issues में deal करने वाला है. It is not going to deal in the realm of rituals. यार तुमको जैसे शादी करनी है, तुमको आधा कच्छा पहन के शादी करनी है करो, पूरा कच्छा पहन के शादी करनी है करो, तुमको टांग ऊपर करके करना है करो.
If you want to do polyamory or polyandry, it will not allow that.
And you should not allow that.
हाँ, वो तो allow करना भी नहीं है ना भाई.
And you should not allow that.
Why should you not allow?
तू कर ले.
If 6 men and 7 women want to live together, married to each other,
yeah.
भाई जब मियाँ बीबी मियाँs and बीबीज राजी तो क्या करेगा काजी?
Yeah, sometimes you don't allow these things because you look at the larger picture.
Yeah.
See, I disagree with you.
I know.
So we're defining. So it's very important, I think, when जब भी ये uniform civil code का discussion होता है and when people worry, I understand that it's a genuine worry, but then according to you, Kushal, will uniform civil code outlaw gangbangs? That's the number one question on India's mind today. Gangbang allowed है कि नहीं है? सबसे पहले ये बताओ. So it's very important to define exactly what the Uniform Civil Code wants to do. The Uniform Civil Code
and not only that, it certainly also people who are opposed to the UCC need to define what exactly are they opposed to in this imaginary UCC that they have created as a straw man.
Yes.
That
so
also
in the straw man, apparently they're saying, ki, correct me if I'm wrong, कि हमारे जो traditions हैं, हमारे जो idiosyncratic, let's say, practices हैं, हमारे अपने संप्रदाय में, उस पर भी यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लेजिस्लेट करेगा, which is not the case, है ना?
Not
Right,
till
but
now.
see, okay.
वैसे हिंदू सिविल कोड तो है ना, कौन सी इनकी ट्रेडिशंस खत्म हुई हैं?
Yeah.
देखो, अब मेरा जो नाम है, for example, okay, it comes from my mother, the first part of my name. Okay, the inheritance, the way it works amongst us is I inherit, we are matrilinear. So my father's property technically goes to his sisters. Had he been a Bengali, had he been a Palakkad Iyer,
Yeah.
his sister's children would have inherited it within our community.
Yeah.
Whereas all my mama's property will come to me. I am of course lucky because from my father's side we're patriarchal and from my mother's side I'm matrilineal. मेरे बाप का जायदाद भी मेरे को आया और मेरे मामा लोगों का भी जायदाद मेरे को ही आएगा.
ये सही सिस्टम है.
ठीक है ना?
Yeah.
But why? But see, this uniform civil code deprives me of my mama's property.
Shut up.
मम्मी का भी चाहिए यार मुझे.
Oh, लालची का मुंह में.
Yeah.
So you see, it's a intolerable infringement on my rights. This is not the India I grew up in. There are two Indias. One way you inherit from your father, and one way you inherit from your mother's brother.
Yes, that's very correct.
I belong to both Indias.
He comes from both Indias.
Sign of fascistic homogenization. The UCC is to India what the Nazi party was to Germany. I feel suffocated.
Yeah, under the Nazi party, you could not inherit your mummy's property.
But under the Indian
गुरका पहन के अभिजीत अय्यर का दिमाग खराब हो गया.
ये तो कर ही सकता है.